Cellular respiration is a cellular process that converts our food into energy, more specifically, ATP. It is divided into 4 steps: glycolysis, the link reaction, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain, or ETC. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, a type of nucleic acid. Although the adenine and the ribose are important for other processes in our body, the triphosphate part is what really matters in cellular respiration. Because when the third phosphate is broken off, it releases a lot of energy. This is the energy that powers our cells. During this reaction, ATP is converted into ADP and a pi molecule. ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. There are 2 major ways that cells from different animals make ATP, the first of which is anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic comes from the Greek words an, air, and bios, which literally mean life without air. This means that organisms that respire anaerobically do not require oxygen at all. This type of respiration is much less efficient, as it only goes through one of the 3 steps in respiration that produces ATP. There are also different paths for anaerobic respiration, such as alcoholic fermentation, in which anaerobic cells use sugar to produce ethanol and carbon dioxide. The other form of respiration is aerobic respiration. Aerobic comes from the Greek words air and bios, meaning air life. This means that aerobic organisms use oxygen during cellular respiration. This type of respiration is much more efficient and yields over 15 times the energy as anaerobic respiration because it goes through all steps of respiration, instead of just glycolysis. This type of respiration usually produces 36 to 38 molecules of ATP. You might realize that the equation for cellular respiration looks very familiar. That's because it's almost the exact inverse of the photosynthesis equation. Instead of making glucose and oxygen out of water and carbon dioxide, cellular respiration uses glucose and oxygen to create water, carbon dioxide, and ATP. Respiration starts with glycolysis, which occurs outside of the mitochondrion. Glycolysis uses enzymes to break down glucose into 2,3 carbon molecules called pyruvate. It also results in 2 NADH molecules and the net gain of 2 ATP molecules. This process takes 2 ATP molecules to occur, but yields 4 ATP molecules, resulting in a net gain of 2 ATP molecules. After glycolysis, if oxygen is present, the pyruvate produced in glycolysis goes through the link reaction. The pyruvate is carried through active transport into the mitochondrial matrix and is decarboxylated. It's a fancy way of saying a CO2 molecule is removed as the waste product. The pyruvate is dehydrogenated as well, meaning a hydrogen atom is removed. The hydrogen goes to NAD and makes it NADH, and the carbon dioxide is expelled out of the cell and the organism. The pyruvate turns into acetyl coenzyme A and is sent to the Krebs cycle. The link reaction cannot occur without oxygen, as oxidation is the reaction that splits the pyruvate apart. The Krebs cycle converts pyruvate and acetyl coenzyme A into 2 FADH2 molecules, 6 NADH molecules, 4 carbon dioxide molecules, and 2 ATP molecules. So far, our 1 molecule of glucose has made 2 ATP in glycolysis along with 2 pyruvates, which are converted each into 3 NADH, 1 FADH, and make an additional 2 ATP. The 2 FADH and 6 NADH are sent to the electron transport chain, where each NADH makes 3 ATP molecules and each FADH makes 2 ATP molecules and ATP synthase, moving electrons across the inner membrane of the mitochondria. The electron transport chain results in 34 ATP molecules, water, and carbon dioxide as waste products. The electron transport chain is the final step in cellular respiration. Its inputs are NADH, FADH2, and oxygen. During this process, ADP is bonded with an inorganic phosphate molecule, or pi, which then forms ATP. About 34 ATP molecules are made during the electron transport chain, the majority of all ATP made in aerobic respiration. The outputs of this process are NAD+, FAD, ATP, and water. Leftover NAD+ is recycled and reused to capture more high-energy electrons. Thanks for watching our presentation.